If you start UGC, you're not just starting UGC to do UGC forever. It is honestly the best baby step towards so many other things.
What's going on? I am here with Aether. Aether, how are you doing today?
Doing really good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing excellent. So I want to start this conversation off by hearing a little bit about how you got into UGC, a little bit about your backstory and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. How I got into UGC, it's been about a year, almost a year and a half now. And I was just one of those people that was not ready to do the 9 to 5. And I was looking for ways to do that. And pre 2020, it was like freelancing was kind of a mystery to me. I was trying to figure out, how I could work in marketing, some kind of freelancing. I always kind of knew that's what I wanted to do, but it was a slow start until I found UGC. Like immediately the day that I saw it, I knew it was going to be huge. I was like, okay, I'm like pushing everything I'm doing to the side and going to go full force on this right now because now's the time. And that really paid off because it just like took off so quickly, like beyond what I ever expected.
So what did that like takeoff point look like? Because I feel like this is where most people get stuck. They see it,
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, this would be so cool," but like I don't know what to do, or like, "Oh, like I overthink it." So it sounds like for you that wasn't really the case. You kind of went all in, and it just things just
Yeah, I wonder if I was lucky on like the TikTok video I stumbled upon
okay.
because I will say everyone in UGC is kind of pretty open with sharing the steps that they took. But I just came across a random girl who was working somewhere where she hated and she was like, I'm just gonna see what I can do. She said, I saw it from someone else and this is what the steps she took. And she literally said like these 5 steps, do one in this week, one next week, and one the following week, and then the following week, and then you're ready to go. And so I just was like, I'm just gonna do what she did. Like I didn't even go look at other videos. I just did what she did, and what I did, and what she did, which is what most people did, and what most people will tell you to do, is just the whole start filming from home with whatever you have and fake it in a way. Just give reviews and then you start making your portfolio on Canva. Most people start there. And then I would say start like getting online, networking on Twitter, and creating some kind of social media presence for yourself. And then this is what I did and not what I tell most people just to make it not so intimidating. Like start on some kind of a platform, some kind of a creator, something like Brand Smith Creators.
brandsmecreators.com.
Exactly. Yeah, because then you've already have warm leads. It is really intimidating to start anything that is like any sort of like freelancing where you have to pitch yourself when it's cold. I mean, it is like you have to send so many and you have no idea if they're even in the right place to work with you. So it's just, and that honestly, when I was doing freelancing, like for blogging for companies, that like affected me mentally and made me discouraged. So this time I was like, I am not doing that. I'm just gonna do go for the warm leads only and then just like apply for everything and never look back so that you don't get discouraged. Like honestly, that's my biggest tip.
Do you remember what like your first deal looked like? And was there ever like that like light bulb moment where like, oh, this is real, like this is starting to work? What's up, guys? It's Mike here from Brands Meet Creators, and I truly believe that in the near future, every brand will have their own in-house team of content creators. However, there isn't really a platform out there right now that helps to facilitate this, right? All of the platforms out there, I felt like were very transactional, meant for kind of this short-term relationship. And so what we wanted to do was build something that was designed for long-term partnerships between brands and content creators. A platform where you as a content creator could connect directly with the brands. And so that's what we just finished building at Brands Meet Creators. Right now we have a ton of brands on the platform that are looking for content creators, looking for UGC creators. And so if you want to start working with some brands and you want a platform that doesn't control your usage rights, lets you set your own rates, your own terms, and actually connects you with the brands for long-term partnerships, and is completely free, go check out brandsmeetcreators.com. Go start applying to some of those opportunities.
Yeah, my first deal was on one of those smaller like apps where you do everything within the app. And I think it was a skincare company out of Australia. And it was for I want to say $40. But to me, I was like, I'll take it gifted. I don't care. I'm just building a portfolio. And that's why in the beginning, it's like, I don't care. I just want to get real collabs on my portfolio. So I took like a handful of those that were under $100. And once I was done with those, I think I did 150, kind of 100, 150 from there. But yeah, that was my first video. And then from there, I honestly like that first video I did for a brand. I kind of like I spent some time on it, right? You want to get it like good. And then after I was like, oh, I did this. I could do this again. And then just like this is the simplest thing ever. But I had also worked so many jobs that I hated. I had tried different businesses that I hated. Like I had gotten my real estate license at one point, like all of that studying to learn that I hated it. And I was just like, I had learned so much from my own failures that I was ready to not fail.
So what was the point when you realized like, okay, this is starting to work for me, and then you started to make kind of content in the UGC space? And a follow-up to that is like, do you feel like that's important for people to have like a UGC profile to make UGC content?
Yeah, on social media.
Yeah.
I just decided to document. Like at that time, people were just saying like, okay, I'm on week 1 and this is what I just did. Like you're not trying to tell anyone what to do. You're not trying to look like a pro. But I also, so I shared that. I was like, I'm on week 1 and this is what I'm doing. I'm on week 2. This is what I'm doing. I didn't, I never shared like things of being like, oh, this, I hate saying this, but in the beginning, don't share your failures online because just brands are watching and you don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, everybody, even the most successful ones, have had failures in the beginning. So I just kind of kept it as positive as possible. And then from there, I think once I got started and once I got going, I just honestly I wasn't thinking my social media through. I was hanging out with the other UGC creators on social media. Because that's like the best part of this is you get online, you're just sharing stuff you're doing, thoughts about it from your day, and everyone, like everyone here, had done the same thing, and you'll get to know each other. Um,
I think that's a good tip that you said, like, don't share your failures early on, because
no,
that's something that like a lot of people don't talk about. And you'll often hear like the other way, like be authentic, like share everything. But you're right. And like I'll go one step further.
yeah,
Also, I wouldn't like complain about things
no,
too. Sometimes I'll see this on Twitter. It'll be like someone will post to me like, I can't believe it's been 6 months and I haven't landed a deal. And I'm like, oh, don't say that, because other people see it, and then it's like then they're probably less likely to actually work with you because they see that. So, yeah,
it's true.
there is a little like fake it till you make it almost that you have to play early on.
You do, and that's only because online anybody could be watching you,
Yeah.
and that's honestly your network online. So you wouldn't go to a networking event and say that. But if you were in a room with other creators doing the same, you totally could talk about those things and get advice from each other. But the internet is open, so just kind of I kind of kept them in my back pocket, like any struggles I had, and once I figured them out, I could go online and say like in the beginning, this is what I struggled with, and this is how I figured it out. And I would talk to, so another tip I would give new creators is like don't have too much pride in the sense that I did not hesitate to like book one-on-one calls with people on my level doing the same thing because I noticed that they had a strength that wasn't one of my strengths. And that is how I made friends with so many people. And it's how I learned little bits and pieces of like, we kind of help each other out that way. But I would never message them and be like, hey, can you help me with this? Because that's their time. So
Right.
I just was like, I'm just going to book a call with them and we'll chat. And I learned so much from that.
So we were talking earlier about how you're kind of at this place now where you're almost like hiring other UGC creators as well. You're almost like your own like mini agency essentially. And I think you see that a decent amount in the UGC space when people like, I don't want to say graduate, but that's kind of like another level that people will go to, is like they almost start their own agency where they're hiring other creators to help fulfill things. You also see creators go the other route where it's more digital products, programs, education, things like that. How has that been for you? Where now you're at a point where you're still creating content, but you're also almost like an agency owner, like a project manager type role?
Yeah, that kind of happened. Like like I told you, I just was like, wait a minute, what am I an agency now? But I think UGC is not just like if you start UGC, you're not just starting UGC to do UGC forever. It is honestly the best baby step towards so many other things. Like you can go into influencing, you can do digital products, you can be a UGC coach and mentor to people, you can create courses, or you can start an agency, or a lot of people have like landed creative director roles at big brands, like just taking a job, you know? So if I had not started with UGC and I wanted to do any of these things, that's just would have been way harder.
All right, I got one final question for you. So if you had to give one piece of advice to someone who's a little bit newer, and not just like general advice, but some like secret sauce that you have that you're like, you know what, this is something that I do. Maybe it's a little niche, maybe it's something that's kind of unique that like 80, 90% of other creators don't do.
Good
What would
question.
that be?
That's a really good
And I
question.
might have to start telling people these questions beforehand.
No, I feel like it has to be something about how to like advance as a UGC creator, because you can learn how to make your content better. So I feel like that's not necessarily the thing that you need to give tips on the most. It's kind of how to keep going, because it's a huge mental game. I would say biggest piece of advice. I mean, other people do this. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I would just say, like, mentally, you have to do everything you can to not be negative so that you keep going. Because the reason people don't make it is not because they couldn't do it, they weren't good enough. It's just because they didn't keep their head in the game, which is totally understandable. It is rough. That is just like put that first. You have to.
Yeah, and you also realize like you're gonna hear no more than you hear yes. You're gonna get a lot of people turning you down, and it's also like it's just you're the only one that's pushing yourself forward.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty easy to just kind of throw in the towel
Yeah.
anytime. So yeah, that's a great piece of advice. You got to just
You got to
keep
just keep
going.
going and just remember that like it's not saturated. These brands need so much content to survive these days, and they're gonna need more. So like we're not gonna run out of opportunities.
Love it. Either, thank you so much.
Of
Great conversation.
course.
Thank you guys for listening.